a Maseru and Cape Town-based design company which deals in museum design and development and exhibitions from concept to installation, will undertake to work on the Lesotho National Museum and Art Gallery, which is currently under construction. The company inked a memorandum of understanding with Lesotho Polytechnic and the Ministry of Tourism earlier this year for the infrastructure which will be used in the museum. Dijon Design, which is already working in the museum, engaged students in carpentry and will engage other faculties going forward in the design and maintenance of the museum. This week on The Big Talk, we have a chat with Dijon Design about their work and other incidental matters around the Lesotho National Museum and Art Gallery.
Welcome to this beautiful episode of The Big Talk. From Dijon Designs to discuss the interior design of Lesotho National Museum and Art Gallery. Lesotho National Museum and Art Gallery is one of the most historic facilities. How does it make you feel to be part of this huge project?
It's not about excitement as such, but get about for the first time, company through a very young company like Kabana Solutions, which eventually merged to become Dijon Design Lesotho. We were this opportunity to represent Lesotho and be part of this huge project.
Okay, thank you very much. That is going into design. So design involves a lot of style from what I gathered. Can you please talk about your company's approach?
All right. Since you are specific about the project, the National Museum and Art Gallery, so specifically what we do as Dijon Design, we specifically focus on museology kind of design. Is interpretative and exhibition design. How do objects do a museum? How are they going to be displayed? What are the thematics and the likes? So it's not about the design of architectural kind of. The architecture or now what we do, then we get inside. So it first starts with what we call narrative framework. What is this narrative framework? The different themes of the museum. So the National Museum and Art Gallery, the Lesotho National Museum and Art Gallery, at this design stage and building it up. It's one building. Is design it's spherical, so you call a class covering ground floor, conservation level, then a ground floor, what we call social history and meaning of art. Then the first floor, natural history, the science center, the amphitheater, and the likes, and more of art. So it's social history, natural history, art gallery in one building. So I saw since the colonial based museums, how in Cape Town, of a social history museum in one building, in one space, separate from. But Lesotho in the 21st century, this is the only museum in the world housed in the 3-in-1.
Okay.
So it comes with a very much challenging in the from time, from origin, where do we find ourselves in the social context? We'll radiate you up, where now we get into performances and celebrate. So give a specific design so it gets informed with this the architectural kind of then eventually we come up with a narrative. Well, it's a timeline. Where do we want the museum to start telling stories from which era and where it will end? So, the museum as the National Museum, in the context of other museums, no, it's going to be a central museum. If the real things that are happening on other side museums. So we want visitorship here when I be able to museum. So that also informs how you are going to exhibit museum and how many. So then the narrative. Then that narrative came along the theme of social history, from here, from there, Basotho ba tswa kae ge tle ona go etsala jwang dikobo eng moaparo fashion mmino jwalo re be go fetise re ha re se re kena into the natural world go qadile go etsa archaeology go kae re na le dinosaur re na le eng science interaction ya rona matlo a rona go be jwang in relative to the science. You understand? So then comes with the ongoing thing, art. It's definitely then how the design is being. Then integration and technology. Technology then informs you on how the visitor so it counts on the design.
Okay. Ke khala ke a utlwa ha o bua rona Basotho ba la phela ka tsela mofuta ofe Basotho ba na le ditema tsa bona and their own interpretations. How easy or hard has it been for you to merge your approach versus the local interpretation?
It wasn't that much difficult, but it wasn't easy because, like I said, we involved a number of local experts, some of which but the late Dr. Mudisana was part of the team.
Okay.
The natural aspect in the real science, the actual science. People but historians, people but in science how can we do that? So in a letter by any what is it in the natural science? When I compromise, I improvise and the nature being. How do they know the calendar when I was and the astronomers will then be featured in to validate the actual being of the story as it is told in the historical aspect, really vis-a-vis in the natural aspect side. How do you want an exhibit? Something like a museum. If we enter in Lesotho, Katsela an European, a guy woodla, Limotimo, Asakelan school, a guy woodla, Limotiana le Chese Hotel in the museum. I would fella I fumana periana as was because it's all about exploring.
Yes. How about the exhibition? We are living fourth industrial revolution as far as exhibiting is concerned. What is it that you have infused to make sure that you cater for fourth industrial revolution in your exhibitions in the museum?
Yeah, there's a lot because actually on a number of museums, the museum, side museum, Tababsi. The features integration of ICT usage in museology. What on top of the mountain. So we had a digital touch table to take you up there even though you are
That's beautiful.
Yes, so it's the same technology that we have been using. It's a project to Enviro Center, same as it's a side museum. You found it, that's Slavatera. Slavatera is now a World Heritage Site, so it is known in the world for Tavatena. is rich in ditaba tseno tsa
Go instance.
yes, archaeology. So each and every site in a leading user is a key. So technology, like we are saying in the aspect of our national museum, but when we set to the actual space, technology becomes key. So integration into this, I think, is what we are going to be doing and exhibiting in terms of technology are the latest of your visual reality technology. Tababasiu, while you go to the museum, you explore Tababasiu, one of the rock art sites. You got to one of the things is the touch table, interactive. We need things that are interactive, educational. That's why we have the science center. Tablet, get to feel. Yeah.
Interaction museum. What mechanisms or tools are you going to use for historic events kapa intangible heritage ka museum? Re bua bo ditori tse ka reng bo ntwa ya Seqiti, ntwa ya Senegal. Ke ditaba tse leng in our heritage, they can only be in ka dupla ka taba ya oral. What are you going to do to make sure that you keep the museum interactive, and how will you ensure the storytelling element of the museum?
All right. Visual reality is a key part. The visualization removed, which is the initial part in the interview.
Okay.
In reconstruction. Reconstruction how cultural village. Wanna let that village so you actually, with that, you can reconstruct the older through visual reality. That's reconstruction.
Okay.
So it's a similar thing. As long as there's a good, well narrated thing about reconstruction we can reconstruct the entire thing. Visuals. For an uploaded video, projected on the wall, various things, because when the National Museum has a library, a studio, a number of things. But how do I have content dating? I pen up ground floor for research. We want to tangibly validate tests, radio, call it carbon dating. How
old is your oldest artifact in Alawege?
Collect. The collection is out there. It's with various museums.
Okay.
The other collection sits with the giants like British Museum, Iziko Museum, the likes of the collection of Tingamakwanyan.
Okay.
It is more the Boiziko, Hona lady into the Mona. Detained duty British Museum.
Are you going to collect them?
There are processes.
Okay.
Some may come as they are because they are loans. How could this standards maybe a world-class museum? Le penene kana fela ba take pene tshwe ke moshosho di British Museum.
It has to come.
The very same labs or the same standards. Lesotho repatriate high.
Okay.
So there are deals how bala ka for TV more France through Macron but they are bringing back artifacts back to Africa. Lesotho still has a very good haska ke mono la fumana dinosaur. Lesotho so since it mono affiliated France. So these are some of the artifacts, but with replicas. So now we are sure they can come.
How we collection it means community engagement. what have you done to engage communities, maybe to bring what they have in their homes or in their households?
A number of things happen. Like I said, it starts with the narrative. How is that narrative framework? With that interview, right? With that stakeholder workshops. Then the relevant stakeholders. Then I'll find a typical example. The museum is in Masiru. Then from a very known popular book, Professor David Ambrose. The
Illustration of Maseru.
Illustrated history of Maseru.
Okay.
We cannot take it all. See point. So we love our Lesotho, Rabanga, Beafati, Yabayol Harvard, still one of us, Bakena, Karasi point, about Batla history. Bafumana, the artifacts, it's a more of us. Remember, I'm talking about a penny. La palette in the church in the Bachelor Boxer, La Pella, Colonia Pele, you name that. So we know where these things are.
So it's true that Maya Mahagita was the first woman to travel kind of suit.
Yes, indeed it is.
Okay. Kupangire breaking hanya na swara hanya. Babuka ba khaba na go go rekisa hanya. See you after the break. Welcome back to this beautiful episode of the Big Talk. To discuss Lesotho National Museum and Art Gallery. Thank you very much, Dede Kompi. Artist and photographer defense and so far in collecting the tangible heritage.
First of all, aspect fourth industrial revolution. Yes. Royal photographer, a photographer of a very long time. Motoapela Ula studio, some food and a day, Ramakatane of Tabut. Most of it, I will digitize it and office in the Nale, that's our field offices. More than about the negative mode. Lady photo and Zenatin, Hassan. So digitize field of so it's that kind of process. So Cam Museum also don't want digital copies. Okay. Is one of the artists. So with other artists, intangible, we are the farm. The museum cannot tell the entire story, but can only bear a landmarking kind of. I talked about the timeline. So that's the key. So the first record, yes, record. So you
I hope the family is in it.
Not as yet. Stories I has a stories I like I'm but for fair. Okay. Kimabagasa killing at Linga TV at Lindra.
Okay.
Really, the Renale Salabato model. We are going to camera.
When did it start?
Justice Caleb. That's
Okay.
one of the works. Your traveling photographer can tells a very nice story about Badisana because they tell a very nice. Because I'm talking about an exhibition or a photographic exhibition that tells a story. Not mutangiling one picture by default. It's a story around that. Why him? Because he's told a story at the royal photographer. There is a royal photographer, the royal funny. So all the stories how to come organize Fishela Fuselagati, one kilo of Labanya on the royal funny.
Okay.
So it's a nice story to tell. So then this we have what we call permanent exhibition and a temporary. What are to go now and ba sebetsang ka mabenyane ka ene ko tla le bua taba tsa drone ko tla le etsa sketches and trades. So those ones will be determined by the management there. Now is to install first opening collection.
Okay.
That will be the theme se ditlatsa museum o tla hola tla kenya ditaba tla tlisa eng.
Oh, so that means there's space for future
There's
artists.
space. There's a lot of space because the late I think that was something about that day. Give that day. I get on my partner.
That is episode.
That's supposed for. Okay. I'm interview on that have a more. So get generate to opening. Or now how we are a current recording artist who is now late. So you know you the stories it has to shift. Those are kind of the challenges because Hanzo haha like we are almost done. We are going for installation, but come home over the COVID. This is something that's going to be a last year. Unjo be in the current. This is the story has the design has to change.
Good work about farm. What about music from indigenous musical instruments?
Yeah, there's a good line story. Yeah, a collection that sits with Samuel Makwanya. Ke motho ene lo ga ha ntse ba pala diletswa mo e bo nka le tsopa bopa batho ba letsang ba letsang ditaba tseno. So the kind of structure sana di bopa di tshwana hantle le the art e tswang ke datemisho. So the contemporary mefuta ene ya art ya takilona that bonda datemisho ba telle bo mo hona le re bua ka batho be leng hore e ga ha o bear story o gona go bona go no from Samuel Makwanyane to the feature tse tsa di entse hona le motho ba di troya anta troya jwale ke datemisho but jwale hona le di instrument tseno tse rile ga ya wa o thaba bosiu but it was an independent project funded by UCT mono ba batla go etsa because the collection sits with Izigo for now o ba etse diletswa tseno e re ha re se rena le yona le digital how we bula in the museum tla fumana collection ya Samuel Makwanya lines e dutse Izigo tla bona an object tla ga o e bona ntse o hlalosetsa e ba in 3D. That's the technology itself. But you also hear the diletswa tseno pele ka hana di bapala ke bona ba Basotho di record ma se fedile mo hona mona tabapsi. So is that kind of integration e re yentseng in terms of diletswa tsa khale talking things today. So in a special say a special dedicated session ya irgareng go tla bona le gallery itseng e Mathambeke o ka fumana go ba teng ba letsa that me shooting wa taka ba le ba ntweni batho ba leng dira ha o tloa bone be artifact ena ka for painting ena that me shoot e entswe ka session ya gallery in the art museum and therefore it's worth this much. Okay. So these are the kind of things because the museum has to make money. So your design have to be talking, linking, hantle lo do go kella go thomolong abele benefit.
How work the museum making money? We have seen Nelson Makamo from South Africa entering the global art business as a shelter at what is it that you're going to do as the museum? You're going to do with the designing part, maybe the administration part of the museum.
Yes. It's just to make an open collection. Okay. And
so that means you're going to hand over the museum?
We're going to hand over to the client of the ministry. Then the ministry, based on the guidelines set available. Okay. That's why we're going to talk the trends. We are catering for the future. Okay. And therefore the entire museum, because a designer has to inform sustainability and income generation for the museum.
Okay. So how are you going to handle the high influx in the museum? Because I think COVID it will fail, and then we're going to start having large groups of numbers in one places. So how are you going to control the influx of the museum?
Yeah, it's a very complex system, but it's simplified. The National Museum is just a hub. So the digital part of it makes it that we're going to have a visual part of the museum. So the bookings, it's part of what we're going to be doing. Large groups talk about schools, you talk about in advance, you talk about scholars who want to sit there, examine an object for a certain period of time, you're talking about those number of things. So where the space itself, outside, on-site, Bamba ka di fumana virtual.
Yeah.
So it's that the technology part of it and the booking is in but the grand opening will say it all in the first year because we shall stay with the museum for the entire first year to make sure predicted goes as planned. Final advisor.
Okay. Branding is very critical towards aesthetics. How are you planning to approach this project as far as branding is concerned?
Like the logo, how this museum has started. It was all about engagement from a competition line of aspect. Meaning bana ba Sotho ba le batla ka company ka bongwe ba fana ka bona ba batla museum o shebale jwa. That's why it came from a competition and the spiral out design by DNT Elindorina and Tlatlapa the architects. So it came right way from. So even the branding itself, there are suggestions that can be done by us as main consultant.
Okay.
This is what we will think about what the branding could be.
Okay.
But the branding, it's it's a very critical thing to just as a consortium that works on installation, just to put it, we can recommend. But it's an assignment to be put forth to the client. On the opening, the first thing, let's incorporate a very good branding. Built by Basotho ba go fa empa ntse re tla recommend we he kgathetse ke mokogotlo gona sona le creativity e teng gona bja le jena ba tshaba ba se ba le teng ba tseba ntho tse batlang di na le mmoko o feta ena e se re tlwaetse ka nnete. Yes, because you look all over, everything that is a monument has mokogotlo about my the museum, the state house.
And we cannot only bank on Mokoro.
Yeah. So in the flexibility in the thing, especially Harabata museum the new age technology thing, so about much more interaction in your batch.
Okay.
It calls me to what you call a story and memory booth. Earlier until a portal so today ga ho utlwa ona go latela ba tshaba ba Sotho ka mfite fapane le camera be fapane ona le bana bo tingi minority ana le matebela kana le ba phuthi kana le bo le ga ya go bona ga batla go ba ke ba re fe ba batla go bua tsa bana di beteng ka mono go etsa gale but a wide range part of it is bacha ga batla go bona the likes of the Nala project mo of mala ba tshaba kopane ba bua ntse di ke dilo feature ga museum. So it is in that aspect but we transfer from the colonial part of museum. To the museum it's
a liberating museum.
Yes. 10 years to come, 20 years, 100 years of footprint.
There's a very huge need for us to transfer skills to the locals. As Dijon Designs, what is it that you have done to transfer skills to locals?
The first thing that we did was projecting Apelia Slavatebe and Toya Talabsuamin. In Cape Town, the tradition store. The same happened that was 2 years ago. So with the approach, Dijon Design Cape Town and Kavana Solutions as a Lesotho-based company. But we merged the companies last year, and then we had Dijon Design as Lesotho-based company, which is 50-50 Kavana and Cape Town-based.
Okay.
That was the first transfer to say, from now on, we will no longer bring in a company that will 100% benefit the foreign.
I love the ownership part of it.
Yes. So that's the first step. That means when somebody from Cape Town, is me who's talking.
Okay. All right.
It was the first transfer.
That's beautiful.
The second one, in the letter, if we are designing, we are talking about display cases, we are talking about we had a program and in which our client, the Ministry of Tourism, le Fokoti Balababali and MOU, the skills are those display cases. You know, display cases that are the National Museum, di tlo tswa Cape Town di entswe mona se bile di qetuwe
Ke bana ba
kgweding ya ho feta ke bana ba Basotho ba kenang Fokoti. It means the skill was transferred to the lecturers to make sure ha 15 years 10 years how go be atafole ka museum ha re sa bitsa ba Basotho but re na le bana ba student ba di entse so se le go bona go kopanya go ba ka etsa a company
It's a consultant to the museum.
It's a specialize ka museum based furniture and repairs. So that skill has been done. It has been transferred. The installation in the Kenya Basotho ba bangata jwale ha se di tloa mo di tlotla di banthona di tlotla di etswa di kenya motlakase jwang ho etsa hala jwang ho etsa go tlo penta go lokiswa go etswang as per themes ka mo go di tla be ka teng ntse tlo ba le taba tsa Basotho. Then acquisition is very key. Ba go lo lata those identified objects go kopa ntwena ka bokana. Then there's benefit. Then hona le loan go tlo ruta Basotho ka mo go fapaneng go re jana le demo ga re batla e fana ga batla e heritage museum ka re itika e tla dula selemo.
Okay.
Ke di loan ke ntse tla me go ruta Basotho ga so re ntho le nngwe e bohlokwa ga e rekisa o ka e kadima museum futsi go ga e tloe ha e tloa mo ne ska store we kadima museum mo. It means in that way ha inzele inze in
ownership
yes
ownership
ke ntho ke magale le mengata re ruta Basotho museum ga se mo yeno go lahlela dintho fa go bona ntho tsa gale le wena o le motho ka fumana a benefit. Yes.
Thank you very much, Natile Bwankompi, for this conversation that we have had. It is really a life-changing conversation. Wow. Just to tell them what are you expecting from them, support from them.
Yeah, the whole from Basotho, what I would say is the big thing is museum in museology, museum things. Gabo we are part of museum collections in the making. Jwale era ha ga ta o be a pokelo ena ge re lo appreciate pokelo ena ge be re etse that interaction le the space because it's not only going to be that taba ya heritage. There's also going to be some shops there's going to be an exchange. So what I creativity has to upscale but ba bona hore dintho tsa bana di ba part of the museum, their family prints become part of the museum. We have the potential. Kabana Solutions has made it to be Dijon Designs, so there's potential.
Thank you very much, Natile Bwankon. Thank you very much for your data. Thank you very much for your time. I don't know.